In terms of obviously what we did this time round, very much still ran the 5 day challenge. We wanted to change things about because the last time that we did it, we found that actually, in terms of participation across Autotrader, we wanted to increase that. So we essentially did something very different and joined across the whole business. We joined every sort of stand up or team meeting that each of the teams had to talk to them directly more about what Race Equality Week was, what the purpose was, and also having sort of given them like a heads up beforehand and actively every single day engaging every single team across the whole business, which we found has been very productive in terms of getting that engagement up. And I'll let John share later on what the data looks like, because we are very much about the data from that side. And also just around the big promise. So essentially, and I know that you've touched on it, it's one of those where we want to really make sure that from the big promise that every action, really does count, actually having some actionable measures from it. So we're having the business also reflect, and we're having feedback sessions. So still being involved in those cross collaboration meetings where we're going to the teams and going, what's the outcome, what is the feedback, what is your big promise? So getting some more action rather than the words behind it, and that's kind of been key for us this time round.
Well, obviously, that with the team being embedded in all the workshops and stand-ups that we have, that we're engaging with greater involvement from areas of the business that wouldn't have typically been involved with the sort of ethnicity network and the activities and events that we would host. So hoping is that those conversations will continue. I think from sort of looking at a stats perspective, the biggest stat that we probably can see from the network, and it's also it's hard to gauge impact through numbers, but we have Slack channel for the network, and from the start of the week we had just slightly over 500. We're currently running at 550, so we've had a sort of near enough 8% increase in the audience for the network already. I'm hoping that that will obviously increase further, and then it's just again way we sort of delivered the challenges through the Slack post and messaging, just again the interaction with the emojis and the sort of the threads and messages back again. We can probably collate that and just review that as part of for next year's engagement. But I think the sustaining the sort of conversation through the year, I think that will be basically one of the crux of it all in terms of Race Equality Week, is that can we continue these topics of conversation, and how can we collaborate on things like intersectionality, or and actually come up with some awareness pieces about doing events going forward. So again, that's been quite a positive one. And I think the other one is if we have what we call chat spaces, where we create safe spaces to have difficult conversations, to have people view their opinions, but again, making sure that everyone respects each other. So again, making sure we establish those and is actually wider reaching.
I think it's definitely creating that space to actually have those conversations, because the biggest challenge for us that we all found is that element of a blocker of time and allowing, we don't have the time to do this. But what we found is actually, if where possible, engaging the leads in the business, so those senior managers, to actually almost enforce or create some sort of time where those conversations are able to happen. So as John mentioned, we have the chat spaces, which are encouraged then by the leaders to then ask your teams to join that chat space, have an opportunity to, just talk about these different challenges, or how we can, the feedback reflect whatever that looks like. So I'd say one of those is definitely to create, especially for those that are on the call that are in those senior leadership positions, is creating a space whereby your people have an opportunity where they know that it's for them to have that conversation, and it's encouraged by the senior leadership team. Because I think where that every action counts does fall down is most probably when it's not being led in that particular way or encouraged in that way. So that would be one of my top tips.
I think, well, the other one is basically as part of the network, one of the aspects is to help elevate our global ethnic majority colleagues
Mm.
into more senior leadership positions. I think one thing that got identified was, is it a case of confidence, people going forward for those type of roles? And there is a specific program called the Diverse Talent Accelerator.
Mm.
It's not a specifically gen targeted program. It's more about building confidence. So those who may in the past may have felt that their background have held them back, maybe their past experiences have held them back, that actually this program will help them come forward on imposter syndrome, understand imposter syndrome, how to
Mm.
manage that, etc., etc. Making sure that we shine a light on these colleagues to say, you know, go for this program. If you want to progress into those senior leadership positions, there should be nothing stopping you from doing that. If it's a matter of confidence and
Mm.
understanding self belief, then this is a program that we would promote.